The first objective for the Estonian company here is to push into a nearby village, looking for any enemy activity. Major Raigo Palmler briefs his men on the plan of action. His second platoon will move to the east of the village and take up a position in which they can watch over the area. Once they are placed, the first platoon will enter the village. We move into position. Overlooking the village is a small Afghan National Police outpost. The bullet holes in the walls and the spent bullet casings tell the story of fierce battles between the police and the Taliban here in recent weeks. Just before 2nd Platoon begin their patrol, some locals appear with some information.
The locals are warning us that they know that we're coming. Obviously that means the Taliban knows we're coming as well. So we're going to patrol into the village and see what happens. We're not quite sure whether the Taliban are going to be there or not, because we've had lots of artillery fire going on further west with the Royal Marines, so we're not sure if all the Taliban are caught up there or if they're going to be coming back here or not, but we'll see.
As 2nd Platoon begins to move, the rest of the company intently survey the village, looking for any sign of enemy activity. Overhead, a British Apache helicopter slowly circles, using high-tech surveillance equipment to detect any sign of movement. On a rooftop, there are suddenly 3 small flashes.
On top of one of the roofs in the compound in the village, there's a sort of flashing, and the Afghan policeman is telling us that the Taliban are using mirrors to signal to each other. They could be signalling that we're coming or something. So we're just waiting out now, waiting for our 2nd Platoon to get into position.
There is a sudden clatter of gunfire over to the east. 2nd Platoon have been engaged by the enemy. The British artillery officer attached to the platoon begins to call in support from field guns based several kilometres away. In addition to fire from the artillery, the Apache begins to engage enemy forces. Any support from aircraft is directed by a joint tactical air controller who is on the ground, helping the aircraft to positively identify the enemy, minimising the risk to civilians and ISAF units. In the exchange, one Afghan policeman is injured.
My 2nd Platoon is in contact in this area here. Enemy opened fire, small arms fire, against our APCs in this area here. Now 2nd Platoon fixing enemy in these positions here, and also one ANP injured, and our medics provided medical help, and now we are waiting medevac helicopter.
It's not long before the familiar sound of a Chinook helicopter can be heard approaching. The injured policeman is placed aboard and is quickly taken away for treatment in the field hospital in nearby Camp Bastion. Meanwhile in the village, the enemy have fallen silent. 2nd Platoon are now in position, and it is time for the 1st Platoon to enter the village. All seems quiet as we approach down the main road. Then, without warning, Taliban fighters appear further up the road and begin to fire at us. The Estonian soldiers are quick to react and begin to return fire.
So as you see, the enemy has engaged us down the road. We're returning fire and attempting to move up towards them.
While the gunners lay down suppressing fire, other soldiers begin to move through the compounds in the village in order to reach the enemy firing position. Before long, the village falls silent. Taliban fighters suddenly appear on the left-hand side of the gunners and begin to fire at them. They are attempting to come round and attack us from the side, a manoeuvre known as flanking. The soldiers fall back to cover. While running across the open street, the 1st Platoon medic, Tonis, is hit in the leg by a bullet. The wound is not severe and he is still able to walk, shaken but mobile. A platoon, numbering between 20 to 30 men, is not large enough to clear a village of this size. We therefore decide to pull back, in order to let air support engage the enemy with precision-guided munitions directed by the JTAC, who make sure there are no civilians in the vicinity. Despite coming under a withering hail of fire, nobody is hit as we extract out of the village. Estonian forces on the ridge by the police checkpoint are able to give us covering fire as we move back towards their position. After several hundred metres of running, the platoon makes it back to the ridge. Everybody is exhausted, but relieved that no one was seriously injured.
War is hell.
Well, we managed to withdraw back to our lines. We got the injured man out because that was the top priority. And now second platoon, who were, as you might remember, over at the side giving us cover fire. We might need to go and get them back.
With the soldiers and civilians clear of the village, American F-18 planes are clear to fire on the enemy, who soon withdraw. Second platoon able to make their own way back to us. The soldiers refill their magazines, and a helicopter is called to pick up the wounded man. Under covering fire provided by the armoured personnel carriers, an American Black Hawk is able to land and take the man to Camp Bastion.
This is obviously day one of the operation. We've got several days to go, so it's going to be very interesting to see how the guys hold up and how we proceed to clear out our mission objectives. Anyway, this is me signing off from day one.
Our probe into the village had shown the Taliban that we meant business. It was now time to force them back.